You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to the Cards to the Moon podcast, hosted by myself, Clark, along with, as always, Hyung and Jone. I believe this is episode 27, and today, off the top, I wanted to bring up that Giannis moment during a recent press conference where he showed off his Bobby Portis and Dante basketball cards. They're both his teammates, right? And I think he was mentioning that if he ever gets into financial trouble, this is his backup plan by selling those cards. That was pretty funny. Just want to get your quick thoughts on what you thought about Giannis flexing with those two cards.
I think it's awesome for the hobby. Like I said, any type of press like that, that's exciting, especially a character like Giannis, right? But my question is, like, did he just have it on him? Like, I mean, he brought it out. Like, he just had it, or I seen the video, but I mean, he's such a character that it's. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, let's get one thing straight. He's not going to make any money with, I think it was like a Dante Hyper Pink or something like that. Obviously, he was joking around, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Clark.
No, I was going to say, plus he's already earned $150 million in the bank right now. So I'm sure he's well taken care of. But like you said, Hyung, I love that Giannis is bringing attention to the hobby. Like, more guys that are in the spotlight, especially athletes. And I think there's going to be more of that once Fanatics takes over. Like, once the players unions gets a cut of the revenue, I could see them just talking about what what cards these athletes are into, and they'll be incentivized probably to talk about it more than they've ever have been. Like, right now, they don't get anything from Topps or Panini. So
we got to find a guy, an athlete that does collect, and have him on our show.
Oh yeah,
one
that'd
of these
be
days.
Cool.
Josh Donaldson.
Oh my God,
that'd be
Donaldson would actually be really, really good, and I have a tie into it actually.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Because he collects, maybe, right? In the future. If I'm not mistaken.
He's a character too. He'd be great on the show. Holy jeez. Anyways.
Let's see if we can make it happen. Yeah. That'd be great. All right, good stuff. Okay, let's move on now then to hobby headlines. So this week, John, off the air, you brought up two cards that saw huge numbers in sales or sale prices, which has some in the hobby questioning whether these cards were pumped up somehow or if these were legitimate sales. So case in point, the Mac Jones Donruss base PSA 10 rookie sold for, I believe, on average $2.5K, right?
Wow, insane.
And again, this is a regular base card.
Yeah, Donruss.
And John, you Donruss, yeah. And John, you mentioned Ja Morant had a card. I don't know that.
Yeah, it's the Chronicles.
Yeah, it's 2019 Chronicles, card number 116. It's the one with in the background standing courtside is Young Dolph, the rapper that just passed away.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that literally a nothing card. It spiked and it's selling for 300-ish, 350, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, this certainly doesn't imply shady business, although it can, because, to be honest, we've seen this crazy trend before, like some of the Topps project cards, right?
Yes.
Where there's a huge spike in value. And I think in that case, and maybe in these aforementioned cases, there was this FOMO effect where it just kept driving the prices higher. But usually it comes crashing down sooner or later. So first, your initial thoughts of these two cards. And then second, are there any key indicators to you that a particular card is either not worth the crazy values they're selling for, or that a crazy spike in price is actually legit? So first, what do you think about the two cards that seemingly have these pumped up values?
I think some people are going to be holding the bag.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna correct itself 100%, right? Like, there's no reason why a card like that should blast off like that, especially when we know past history trends, right? So all it takes is, like you said, a FOMO, a shill bid here and there, and it could not bring true value. And it's not to say that these cards aren't selling for it, because it just triggers that kind of effect. But once everything corrects itself, it will, somebody's going to be holding the bag, right? So my whole thing, we were talking about this before, John, it's like you never stop chasing, stop having that FOMO and buying into what's trendy, right? Because you most likely you're too late to that trend, right? So I think somebody's going to be holding the bag, unfortunately. And I don't see true value in both of those cards, to be honest.
Yeah. If you own both of these cards, sell it immediately. That's all we have to say about that. The Mac Jones, I mean, $2,500 US for a Donruss base makes absolutely no sense. But you look at the pop report, it's pop 40, right? And I'm not personally saying there's shady business happening, but somebody could have sent in a large PSA submission and got back 35 of them. And then he can kind of do some shady stuff with it, right? And start manipulating the market a bit, right? It's Donruss base. It makes...
it makes no sense.
Like with Topps Project, I can understand why people got burned, because it was something that was completely different, brand new. It wasn't really like sports cards. It was more like art. And, like people were getting FOMO because you see the card prices going up, and some people think, hey, maybe this is the next big thing. I should put some money into it. So I think Topps Project, you can kind of understand the mindset. With Mac Jones, at this point in the sports universe and in the sports hobby, people are more than savvy enough. Like the market knows the seasons, like people aren't overspending with 1 month left before, like we always thought, the preseason month before it's huge, you're going to sell like crazy, but people are getting smart, man. And we know the market is very savvy and it's very smart. So for me, it doesn't make any sense that a Mac Jones Donruss, I know he's playing great and the Pats look great. For a Donruss base that, in a year and a half from now, it's going to be like a 10,000 pop card.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense to me. On the flip side, the Ja Morant, I still think it's super high because we're on that kind of like FOMO trajectory. It's pop. I checked it up. It's pop 828. I don't know what the main Ja card is, the dunking one, right? The missed dunk.
The Chronicles, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the pop is on that, but it's probably around.
It's similar. No, I think it's a little higher. Sorry, but right. The thing is that card, the dunk, was exactly what's happening too. It was so when that card, I remember that card was so hot. I remember it was the PSA huge. 10 base was over 300 US. Yeah. Right, and approaching 400 US. So it happened, and now it went down to $100, right? So it's very similar. Chronicles doesn't hold that value. Past cards have shown, Luka, Trey, whoever you go back to, Chronicles doesn't really hold value unless, obviously they're numbered in some sort or a parallel, right? So, I like the Ja Dunk card is a perfect example of kind of like the same card. I see this happening with the other Chronicles card, right? So
right, yeah. And the Ja card, I mean, it was literally a nothing rookie card. And me personally, I actually think that this card is here to stay. I will put this. I think this one will have, and the Ja Dunk card will be the two iconic Chronicle cards from here on in. I'm not saying it's gonna be worth $300, but I think prices, when it eventually corrects itself, it may be around the dunk card or maybe above, because it just has, it's cool. It's a card, rest in peace to the young rapper that lost his life, which is really sad to see, but it's got cultural significance and relevance. So I think I personally think this card is here to stay. I just don't think you should be buying it right now, because there's going to be more and more pop that's going to come out, and 6 months from now you can get it for cheap. But I personally think out of the Chronicles package, this one is going to be here to stay. This is my opinion.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the point about the low pop PSA. Like, just a reminder, PSA regular service is still shut down, but once it opens up, there's a lot of Donruss based Mac Jones out there. Right. Yeah. And you could bet on that pop count increasing exponentially, probably. and probably similar to Ja Morant as well, the card we're talking about.
Yeah.
But
I feel bad, but I could see people sending it right now on Express, like Super Express 250.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, like, I even think that's risky. I think, like, literally 7 days from now on our next recording, or when this podcast actually airs, we could see this Mac Jones card being like 150. I don't know. Like, we don't know. This one's a head scratcher. So
you brought up Topps Project. I'm guilty of buying into FOMO. I regret that decision. So, if anyone wants a Ted Williams Topps Project card,
hot take here.
Oh,
what if it ends up being worth a lot down the road?
Yeah.
Which one?
Project.
It could come
Project?
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ermsey, the Ermsey,
The Ermsey Trout is still
Griffey,
holding. It's still holding.
But that's what
value.
I'm saying. It's like it's
True.
It's not a L until you sell. That's our saying, right? So it's like, hold that.
I personally got so lucky with Topps Project. I
didn't even buy in.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know what made me think of purchasing it, but I ended up buying this is what made me do it. I ended up buying when Don C released his first one, because I was into sneakers at the time. I still am, but Don C released the Frank Thomas. It was all gold. I'm like, oh, Don C's first one. I gotta get in on that. So I bought it for $20.
Yeah.
And then I think I bought one or two more. I bought like a Mike Trout, and I wanted one of the Ermsey because I just thought, I think the Ermsey collection might become iconic because the Trout one is worth some money.
Right.
So I bought an Ermsey. I think it was a Bob Gibson. I think I could be mistaken, but I ended up buying 3. And while it was getting shipped because I actually ended up purchasing off eBay, so I bought them for $60. And while it was getting shipped, that's when the spike happened. So the Frank Thomas went to like 600 US. The Ermsey card went to like 450. The Trout was at like 600, 700. And I was like, what is going on? Like, this is exploding. And what ended up happening is it didn't ship for a while. And the seller sent me a message saying, hey, sorry, there's issues with shipping. If you want your money back, I can give you your money back. Like, come on, man. Like, So I knew exactly what was going on. And his offer was there. And you can see it like lit up on the eBay screen. And literally a couple of days later, the Frank Thomas went down to like 300, 250, 225. And then the Trout, same thing. Like, it was going half price. It was going lower. They're still worth like $175, $200. But I just had a bad feeling. And I messaged the guy. I'm like, hey, I'll take my refund. And he's like, okay. And so I got my refund. And I got lucky. Like, I was able to get my money back. And I mean, I left money on the table, but I thought to myself, okay, by the time it gets here, this could completely tank. So I'm just going to take my money back. I got super lucky. Yeah.
You know what? You're a lucky bastard, because I ordered that Don C. Frank Thomas right from Topps, and it took forever to get to me. And by the time it got to me, it was like less than what I paid for. You know what I mean? You did the right thing. But lesson learned, and like you said, who knows? Topps Project could be one of those things like, oh, remember this Topps collaboration with artists, the very first one? Yeah. I'll be like pumping that up hard when that conversation
You'll be the first one to sell.
Yeah, exactly. When it spikes up one more time.
Yeah.
All right. The second part, I don't know if we can answer this, but I don't know if you have any theories or any ideas on, is there any key indicators where, when you see this crazy spike happen, is it legit, or in the cases that we're talking about now, I think we all agree that it's not really legit. It's just being pumped up, and you should probably stay away from them. But are there cases where you're like, you know what, maybe I will buy into it? So like, for example, I don't know if this is a perfect example, but Luka Doncic base Prizm, like for the longest time it was quite affordable until a lot of people came into the hobby at once, and then Luka started to really play lights out, and then all of a sudden the new base price for that card is hundreds and hundreds of dollars more. And of course we saw it reach up to 2K, and it's kind of come down a lot since, but you got to remember, it used to be double digit dollars, under $100 at one point. So I don't know, is there a case where you're like, maybe the spike in prices, it's legit, and gonna try to buy it while it's still relatively low.
In the Luka case, I think I would just, using my logic, honestly, saying that this is a good investment because you know what, I wouldn't mind a Luka base in my collection, and right. I have zero plans of selling it, and in the long run, I believe that's how true collectors collect cards. At the end of the day, they're not there to sell it, right? So in the case of a Luka, again, pop report's gonna be my main indicator because for me, it's all about supply and demand. And something like a Luka Prizm, we bring up that Gary V talk or whatever, whoever it was, that there's 20,000 people that want that card regardless, right. And that's what I'm going off of. And that's all that matters, right? In a situation where, there's like a Mac Jones, for instance, and then the pop count is at 30 right now, but then I know that base Donruss wasn't graded because of grading issues that PSA had in terms of being closed down and offering the basic service levels, right? So to me, logic is, the pop report is going to skyrocket, and is Mac Jones that much of an impact in today's society where everybody wants a Mac Jones Donruss base? And we haven't even talked about Prizm. We haven't even talked about his field level selects. Right. We're talking about Donruss paper. Right? I feel like Allen Iverson. We're talking about paper, like come on, yeah. So that's why for me, something like Luka is different, and I would buy in because I don't have a problem buying low, a Luka or someone like a Trey where I believe in the talent, and worst case scenario, I enjoy the card like I originally intended to, right. And I don't have to worry about, if it crashes, next month or 2 months, I don't care because I'm in it for the next 5-6 years because I'm a Luka fan, right? Or I'm a Trey fan, or I love this card particular of that, right? So to me, yeah, of course you could buy in, and there's the main indicators that we always go to, and using, I guess it's my logic, that's how I would kind of assess the situation.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah, on my personal experience, I will warn everybody, because Clark, you ask, is there a good example of when it's good to chase? I will say, from my experience, absolutely no. Like every card that I have chased during sort of a surge period where it was kind of like going upwards in an upwards trajectory, I can't think of an example that is really good because I'm pretty sure I've taken losses on all of them, including Luka. I think Luka is probably one of my worst losses, and I'm sure it's the same for many people, right? Like Luka's cards have come down so much compared to what they were. So I think that's a good warning, is that whenever you're seeing a surge like this, where a card is, or any type of investment is making such an incredible run, just be really careful at FOMO. I know sometimes it's really hard. You see Luka hit 3 game winners in a row in the playoffs and dropping 45 points, like. It's hard not to be like, oh man, I gotta get on in on this before it's too late. I get it, but man, like if it's any true experience and what's happened in my collecting world, like I've taken L's big time when I chase a surge. So that's a warning. I think the one time where you can really chase, and we're starting to learn this as we're getting deeper into this, is going after something that has very low supply, obviously something that's SSP, but also super high demand. So like Soto Bowman first auto, like that's going to be iconic of one of, looks like could be one of the, big time players of our future. Like that's a card, if you chase because you're scared you're going to miss out on the boat, I would be, and you have to overpay, I would be okay with that one. Like just looking at somebody, viewing them and purchasing it, because that's number one iconic. It's like one of his like go-to grail cards, and it's a future stud, right? So I think those are the instances where you can kind of chase because you're having some FOMO. But if you go after the right card that has low supply and super high demand, I would be green light for overspending. I think that's a time where you could overspend and you could justify that.
Both good advice. And like you mentioned, it's so much easier said than done not to chase those cards when you're having mad FOMO, but I'm sure we've all been there.
For sure.
All right, so guys, I think our advice is don't buy the Mac Jones card for over $2K unless he wins 7 Super Bowls like a former Patriots quarterback. All right. Okay, awesome. Moving on then to our second segment today. It's a new one, and we're calling it Show and Tell. So the idea for this came from you, John, when you asked the question, what cards are we buying or targeting to buy right now and why? So I thought it'd be an interesting question to answer and to be more transparent to our listeners. And our listeners can listen to our advice on these or not, but these cards we're actually standing firmly behind since we're paying for them, right? So whether we're right or not, time will tell. But let's share with the listeners what we're putting our actual money in.
Yeah, I can start. As I've been collecting. When I looked back about a year and a half ago, and I was interested in buying a Sidney Crosby rookie card, the Young Guns, and I remember Sidney Crosby had a special place because I was out of the hobby and I came back in only to try to rip Sidney Crosby back in the day, 2007 or whenever it was. And back then, obviously, the big hobby box was Series 1 or Series 2, whichever one Crosby came out of. And then Upper Deck SP, which had the Upper Deck SP Future Watch. And I remember the SP Future Watch auto numbered out of 99s were huge, incredibly hard to get. I ripped open 2 hobby boxes. I think it comes with 1 auto, rookie auto, maybe 2. And there's a checklist of 400. I got 2 complete no names. But when I got back in this hobby almost 2 years ago, I was looking up Sidney Crosby Future Watch, and it was it was $9,000, $12,000 US, and the Young Guns was going for $2,000. I was like, whoa, and then I would compare to other ones. So another favorite player of mine is Patrick Kane. So Patrick Kane's Young Gun, when I looked at it at the time, was going for $1,200, $1,500 US. And I looked at his Future Watch PSA 10, which was at the time was a buy it now, and it was $800 US. So it made me think, maybe Future Watch was only popular for the Crosby year. It was just kind of iconic for the Crosby year. Maybe Future Watch isn't a thing. Fast forward now, completely wrong, because I thought about buying that Patrick Kane. I didn't. And a couple of weeks ago, the last one sold for $4,000 or $4,500 US, which was a big regret. But the main thing is that as we're watching, coming out of the card show in Canada and watching a lot of hockey cards, the Future Watch market, I believe, is picking up big time. It's most Future Watch cards before, everyone was on Young Guns because that's all he knew. People entering the hobby. Okay, let me go after hockey. I'm going to go after Young Guns. But now people are realizing, hey, I kind of want something other than the boring Young Guns paper. And, Upper Deck has some parallel cards, but they're really super rare. They're not really a super chase. So what's the next best thing is Future Watch, which is sort of the step above. And I'm starting to see prices corrected now. Now Future Watch, almost consistently across the board, is worth double or triple or quadruple the Young Guns card, right? Which is what it was supposed to be. So now I think Future Watch is going to make a huge run. All that being said, one card that I really was trying to target at the show, and I struck out on a couple of times, is Jack Eichel Future Watch. So I'm still big on Jack Eichel. I think his card is super cheap. I mentioned I thought he was going to get traded. He finally got traded, and he's going to Vegas, which I think is going to be a big time contender. I think his comeback, he's trying to come back for the Olympics. So February is sort of his time frame when he's trying to get back on the ice. So I think there's still time to get in on it, but me personally, I'm trying to get it on Jack Eichel. One of his listings ended at $970 US, which is definitely a buy. I kind of regret not scooping it up, but
Graded
PSA 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's huge value. So, hopefully I can either find one locally or continue waiting next couple of months. I'm going to look to pounce on Jack Eichel. And then another thing is, I'm really keeping my eye out on golf. We talked about this a lot, the Netflix series coming. I think golf is a big time play, and I'm watching. I just picked up the Precious Metal Gems Rory McIlroy,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just keeping my eye out on other characters that I think might play a big role in the Netflix series. Like I think Phil Mickelson auto would be a big one. That's pretty undervalued right now. So keeping my eye out on golf. I think golf is a big one. Me personally, just my opinion, but it's my gut feeling.
I can see that.
Yeah.
What's the name of the Netflix series that's coming out?
I don't think there's a name yet.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still under production?
Yeah, I don't even know when the release date is, but yeah, we all heard the news, right?
Nice.
Yeah, I like them. I like those choices. Hyung?
For me, I actually picked up a couple Shohei Otanis. I thought
Sweet.
I wasn't planning, honestly. Had zero intention of picking up. I thought, the MVP hype would kind of like be overwhelming, so I didn't want to buy into it. But it seems like people are selling Otani pretty reasonably cheap, I'd say. I picked up a Topps Chrome blue refractor, a PSA 10, numbered to 150 for $1,900 yesterday, which I thought was very reasonable, just based on a Vladdy True Blue sold for $3,500. A Tatis. John had that Tatis blue that it probably was over 4K deal.
Yeah, I think the last sold was 42.
Yeah, so when I seen it, the guy listed it, and in 30 minutes I just said I'd message him, I'll take it for $1,900, and I didn't want to pay the $2,000 full, and I thought $1,900 was. You know what? If I'm overpaying, it's one of those situations where what John said, I don't mind overpaying a bit, because it's like a comp could be $2,600 the next week, and then you underpay, right? But there was no comps. That's the thing. So, and I think, I thought it was a good buy, and I also stumbled across another Shohei Ohtani. Topps. This was Topps paper. It was a gold. And somebody listed it for, I think it was just under $1,000 US.
Dang.
And it's a Pop 38.
Those are good.
And those paper in 2018 golds, like a lot of people went on the Acuna Soto train. So gold should be in the, I'd say Pop, I'm pulling this out of my head right now, but it should be about Pop 200. Right. So for Shohei, to be, and this is not the update, so this is the regular Topps series 2 image.
With the leg up.
It's leg up. I thought it was pretty cheap for a Pop 38. I don't see too many more being graded, because the chase in that series was actually I don't think there was a chase, now that I think about it, or it was the bat down. Sorry, the Acuna bat down. Because it was number 700. But anyways, the gold PSA 10 for under $1,000 I picked up. It was Shohei wasn't on the list, but I have an option, in my opinion, that before he even throws a pitch in spring training, I could possibly flip the gold and maybe keep the blue and make some money back off that. And then actually I'm a lot into prospecting as well. So I've been buying into a lot of Bowman first chromes, specifically colors, because I think 2021 Bowman chrome specifically is just unbelievably loaded with like potential superstars. Again, there's a lot of risk involved, but I think people don't realize in the past, like, Bowman Chrome wasn't a great product, to be honest. It was always kind of like the least desired. I don't know if it was influenced by the whole 2024 Fanatics deal, that Bowman Chromes just started this loading their first Chrome products with position player prospects. So shortstops, outfielders, like you have multiple talented guys like Christian Hernandez, Pedro Pineda, you have Luis Rodriguez, all these position players that you're used to getting pitchers, right? So for me, I like prospecting for the main reason. It's like, okay, if a professional organization deems that this 16, 17-year-old is worth $3 million because he's a future $200 million potential, I'm going to listen to that scout a bit and say, okay, he's done his work for me, right? And for me, it's like, okay, these guys are young, so it's going to be hard for them to to do well still, because they're still underage. But if they are a superstar, they should fare well in the minor leagues. And this is where price volatility happens. It happened with the Volpe, Bobby Witt Jr.'s, the Dominguez. Dominguez was already like high off the gate, but I find like this is where you could really get some big time colors, like the reds and oranges of these big time prospects for relatively cheap. The buy-in is still expensive because they're color first chrome autos, but I think there's extreme value because, in my opinion, those guys should dominate the minor leagues. Because we're not talking about the major leagues, right? We're talking about a step under where, these superstars, the Acuñas, the Sotos, they go through the minor leagues, they dominate, right? You see a price surge in their first chrome. They make it to the major leagues, that expectation stays the same. If they don't dominate, their prices don't stay in that trajectory. Bowman first chrome just dies. No matter how good, and we're talking about good guys like, Bobby Dalbec, Joey Bart, guys like that had a great minor league season. But that's what I'm saying. That's the cycle, in my opinion, for first chrome. So that's what I'm riding right now, is kind of like the prospecting side of the colors. And then, hoping that, they have good minor league seasons, guys who struggled last year. So there's guys like Shailen Polanco on Pittsburgh. He's a $3 million signee, 17 years old, and his prices tanked because he had a poor first 17-year-old minor league season. It's like, I like to remind everybody, what were you doing when you're 17 years old? Right? So it's like, I find like there's a lot of volatility at action. And that's why I think there's a good opportunity to kind of, obviously it's higher risk, but higher risk, higher reward type situation. So that's what I'm kind of buying. I'm still on the hunt for, the first chromes of Sotos and Tatis. I picked up that blue Acuña over the show that I'm really happy about. Yeah. So that doesn't change. But I never go out anymore with my mindset of I want this card, because as I look, I want other cards, and whatever deal is good, that's what I want to buy. I like the deals more so than anything. So
yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's when it helps when you have baseball knowledge like Hyung does. So for prospects, I'm just gonna ask you, Hyung.
Yeah, I know all the names you mentioned. I have no idea who those guys are. I'll be honest.
I like this guy, Dodgers. Here, I'll give you one name that I think is going to be a stud. That's underpriced. Armando Cruz, Washington Nationals. He's a shortstop, and Wilman Diaz. He's kind of overpriced right now too, but he's a Dodgers shortstop. I think they have potential, a huge upside. But that whole 2021 Bowman Chrome lineup is loaded. You just never know who's gonna be the next guy, right? So
Interesting.
I want to order a Bowman 2021 Bowman HTA box and take my chances. No, that's awesome. All right. For me, the two most recent ones I bought, and you guys know this because I showed you. First one is Bo Bichette, first Bowman Chrome Auto refractor, number to 499. And we talked about it in the pod where if you look at Bichette's numbers, it's insane, and what he's doing, and we believe in the skill set. We believe he can take that next step even further in the 2022 season. And honestly, one of the reasons why he doesn't get as much attention is because Vladdy had a tremendous year too. So I'm taking advantage of that. Like, if people are still sleeping on Bichette, I think there are good deals there. So I got the Bichette first Bowman Auto refractor. BGS graded 9.5 Gen Mint 10 auto for $950 US. Yeah, so under $1,000, I think that was a steal. And the guy who I bought it from, he also threw in a Bo Bichette Topps Complete Set base PSA 10. So there you go. It's a bonus card for me. Maybe flip it for $50. We'll see. And the second card I just bought was Louis Roberts first Bowman Auto PSA 10 for $16.95, which I thought was a great deal too.
Damn.
And honestly, like, I bet on Shohei this past year, and that worked out for me really well in terms of who I think is going to do well if they put it all together. There's to get the deals, it's like there's always something wrong with them. So Shohei, obviously, it was the injury history that was, spooked some people. But if you take the risk on that and you believe in the talent, and if he puts it together for 1 year, right. i.e. stays healthy, and you know what, Shohei, being a two-way player and just seeing glimpses of what he could do in the past, I bet on it. You guys know Topps Chrome, BGS 9.5 rookie for $550 at the time, and obviously it went up to $3K within the season, right? So for me, Louis Roberts, that guy. I think it's higher than what I paid for Shohei this past year, and prices are relatively high still for his first Bowman auto, but keep an eye on it during the offseason as we go deeper into the offseason, because if it dips, I'm telling you, man, I think I love third, fourth year players that had the pedigree of being a top prospect. Injuries got in the way. I love seeing this pattern. Injuries get in the way. They don't produce as they were expected to. Vlad is another example of that, right?
Prices go down.
Prices drop, and then people don't believe in the player anymore. And that's you're exactly right. That's when you load up. And if you look at Robert's stats when he came back from injury last season,
he's a monster.
It's insane. And I think it's easy to forget that because, the White Sox didn't make it deep into the playoffs, right? So, or had that playoff run. So yeah. And, Lou Bob was one of those chase guys, right? And people have short-term memories or something like that.
Yeah. He was the 2019 Zion. He was, man. Totally. In 2020, he was his prices were insane.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
But I like it. You're making me want to buy some Luis Robert tonight. I do have a few, but I'm having FOMO.
Lou Bob, I'm telling you. So
hey, you're preaching to the choir, man. I love Luis Robert.
Yeah. I'm just in case there are a few out there that are still on the fence. Get off the fence and get yourself one. Another card I'm targeting, which I haven't bought yet, but and it's one of those guys. Last year, you would have loved to have this guy at the current prices, but now he's kind of not consistent in his production. People are like, oh, is it worth it? And I'm talking about for NBA, Jason Tatum. The Celtics aren't playing like they have. And remember, everyone was talking about Tatum last year because he was hot, and he was on fire. He couldn't miss. Yeah. And then the Celtics started off slow this year. Tatum's had some really bad games. He's had some really great games, but it's not as consistent as we like, I guess. But I think the prices have started to dip on Tatum. And if you're a believer in Tatum, this is probably one of the best times to pick him up for a decent price. It's not super cheap, but I'm kind of looking at his green Prizm rookie. I love the color block, and I think the last one, BGS 9.5 True Gem, I'm kind of upset I didn't pull the trigger on it, but sold for under $1,600, and I think that was probably going for double at its height last year. So Jason Tatum is another guy I'm looking at, and it's tricky to buy basketball now because it's in season. You like to buy things off season, but secretly I hope for really bad games for the Celtics, and then hopefully you see another dip, and then that's when I'll try to scoop it up. Yeah. And I think his silver prisms too, PSA 10 is going for $1,500, which I think is a decent price point.
His green Prizm, that's one of my favorite cards of his.
So PSA 10 is going, it's buy it now 3K? Right now for $3,000. Yeah. So you might be able to get it cheaper.
That used to be a $5,000 card too.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The green Prizm. Yeah, I love it.
I truly feel like, maybe it's not the floor, but we're at a floor, and I don't want to advise people to go out and spend their money, but I
especially during the Christmas season.
Yeah. I really think we're hitting a floor here, and you look at some of the prices of some key indicator players. The prices are now it's gone down, and it's starting to. I can kind of see it starting to hold. You look at Fernando Tatis. I think his base Prizm, his Topps Chrome PSA 10 went down to 140, 150, and now it's kind of bouncing back up to 175. I really think there's a floor here. I'm not an expert, so
I agree.
The floor could crash again. Maybe you might see another dip right before Christmas as people spend their money on gifts and stuff. But watch out, January, I don't know, we could see a little bump. the market coming back. People are all getting their PSA graded cards right now. They're going to get an influx of cash, like Josh Luber mentioned. You get that cash flow and start spending again. My gut feeling is this is kind of a floor right now, and so it's a great. If you're thinking of buying, if you saved up some money, sold some cards, and you have some reserve, I think I feel like it's a really good time to buy.
I can't stop buying. That's my problem.
I think, John, from this group of 3, I think we're all in agreement. Yeah. Like I was pretty silent in the summer. Like I didn't buy anything.
Right.
Me too. Especially after the boom of the hobby in the Q1 of this year. But now it's like, well, you've seen the WhatsApp chats. Like, yep, I just picked up another card. Like I think it's a opportune time for sure to pick up some cards that you've been thinking about or eyeing for the longest time.
Right.
And even if you haven't even looked recently, I suggest that you guys do for those collectors. Like you might be surprised at how much prices have dipped. Yeah. Since you last checked maybe months ago, right? So I like the Tatis. That was another one I was going to bring up. Actually, there's one auction, BGS 9.5 Topps Chrome autograph in his San Diego uniform. I might pull the trigger if it's about 1,000. Right now it's at $891. I'm going to tell you this because I'm not releasing this episode until next week.
What's the subgrades? Is it a true gem?
It's not a true gem. It's a min gem.
Okay.
3 9.5s and 1 9, I think, on the edge. But still, like if it's like around $1,000 or like and if it's, I'm hoping the reason for the lower or the suppressed prices for Tatis is because the Padres didn't play as they were expected to. But Bob Melvin, a respected coach, is coming into the Padres. I could see the Padres actually winning the division this year. So
I like it.
And if that happens, Tatis should be a main contributor of that team if he could stay healthy again. But I like some of the Tatis cards at the price now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, I agree.
Exciting times to buy. I know it's a Christmas season. I know you probably have to buy some gifts, but save a little bit of cash on the side for yourself. Treat yourself. All right. This is a good segment to revisit as well. So we'll see. Maybe in the new year we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And we'll see where the market is, right? Maybe it will dip even further. But if it does, it's always a great time to buy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. With that, then, let's wrap up the show with our most popular segment, Pick One. And this week, it's the regular edition of Pick One, where we just put up 2 normal cards or sets, and we debate amongst each other which one we would rather have. All right? So, Hyung, you want to lead off?
I'll lead us off as usual. I'm going to go with a couple baseball cards. We're staying in first chrome base, all right? And we're going to go 2016 Bowman's first chrome of Tatis, his auto.
Auto, okay.
Yeah. Versus a 2019 Bowman first chrome of Wander Franco auto base. So the prices for the Tatis PSA 10 is about $6K, a BGS 9.5 between 3 and a 3.5K. And then for the Franco, a PSA 10 runs for about 3.5K, and a BGS 9.5 sells for about 2K. So which one is the buy?
Oh, you guys know how much I love Tatis. He's my current favorite player in the league. I think half of my big investments are just all Tatis cards. But Franco, I didn't mention it in terms of target, but he is one of my targets. I think this year coming with Topps Series 1 releasing and then eventually Topps Chrome, Franco is going to be a monster chase card. And I think with that chase happening, the first Chrome is only going to see, like the spotlight is going to be on that first Chrome because that's the grail, right? So I'm really trying to get my hands on a numbered first Chrome auto Franco. Unfortunately, they're super expensive. But even if it was like an BGS 8 or an 8.5, I would be totally down with that. So I think you guys know my answer. I think I personally believe Franco is the real deal. Now, I'm no baseball expert like Hyung, but just looking at the stats and seeing what he did in his college career, he's literally repeated it in his first year in the league, facing, like major league pitching. Like that's that's unbelievable. So I think when we talked about FOMO with the Mac Jones and when is a good time to hop on a FOMO train so you don't miss out, I think I genuinely believe you got to try to get it on Franco now before you miss the boat. Like I think, obviously price is going to go up and down, but I feel like Franco's going to go to the moon this season. So yeah, 2019 Bowman Chrome first, Wander Franco auto. That's the pick. Easy.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, if it was in a vacuum, I would take Tatis every day, all day. But I like how you gave us the price points, Young, and if I'm looking at value, I have to go with Wander Franco as well. A PSA 10 probably. Like there's usually ratios, right? Like between BGS 9.5 and PSA 10, and they're a lot closer for Franco than I would have expected.
Right.
Like it's more. If you look at Tatis, you mentioned PSA 10 is going for 6K versus half that for BGS 9.5. I feel like that's more aligned with most of the cards in terms of first Bowman autos. So the fact that PSA 10 is 3.5K currently, and 9.5 is just 2K, so not even probably 60% of the value. I think if you could afford the PSA 10 for Wander Franco, I go with Franco for value. And I agree with you, John. I was looking at Franco to buy, and there was a point where it's like at 1,500, and it's too late. It's like over $2,000 now. It's like, it's gone up already, so it sucks. And that's why I bought the Louis Robert instead, Louis Robert instead, because there's better value there now. Yeah. But I'm totally a Franco believer as well. So in this 1v1 pick one, I'm also going for Franco because of the value.
Nice. Okay. Man, I think we're gonna be a sweep here. I'm only pick for the same reasons, Clark. I think the value is in Wander Franco, and I also believe that he's just a superstar. And right now, you still have he's gonna be Tatis-esque. Obviously, their game is totally different, right? But Tatis's card is already baked in there. You know what I mean? You're starting to see corrections but Wander Franco, I still think it's still young. Obviously, there's still a lot of risk because he still has to play and prove himself, right? Which he's done it on a small scale. And I also think that his cards are actually going to be more desired once his Topps Chrome comes out. I think there's no options right now. Right. Yeah. So a lot of people are just waiting for that Topps Chrome. So I think, and I'm going to be all over his Topps Chrome as well. I think it's going to be an awesome card. Yeah. Like it's going to be a special card as well. But first Chrome, I think there's value in there. There's room to grow as well. And in terms of a long-term investment, I think having a first Chrome, PSA 10 at, 3K of any superstar, in the 3Ks. We wish that Soto's and Tatis's and Acuña's were like that still, right? So I'm gonna look at it in the same lens, and obviously the Tatis is still a good investment in my opinion, but I think the Wander Franco has a lot more room to grow, and so we'll be a sweep with the first Chrome Wander.
Nice,
Franco.
Nice.
All right, good one.
Nice,
John. You wanna go up?
Yeah. So I got the poster boy, Junk Slab era 2019 Zion Prizm PSA 10 versus a dead wrong candidate, a huge dead wrong candidate in 2018 Michael Porter Jr. Prizm Silver PSA 10. So we're talking Prizm Silver versus Zion base, the 20K Zion base that everybody talks about and makes fun of. And then now we got Michael Porter Jr.'s signatures Prizm Silver PSA 10. They both go for around, actually I think as I thought it was around 300, 275, but I think the latest couple of sales were around 250, maybe even sinking lower than that. So both around $250, both not super desired cards as of right now. Which of the two are you going to pick? Obviously the Zion, I think people are still going to gravitate towards Zion, but it's got the humongous pop. And then the Porter, we all know the Porter injury, super scary. But it's the silver, right? So, yeah.
Oh, man. I can go first. I don't want either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like Zion is lights out, and that would have been obviously an easier choice, even with the high pop count of Zion PSA 10s.
Right.
And Michael Porter Jr. Can he ever stay healthy? That's the big question, I guess. But I would have to think Denver Nuggets won't quit on him that easily after giving him that huge contract extension over the summer. So I'm still believing Michael Porter Jr. can come back, just at least play half a season really well, and then that's when I'll sell. But I'm going to go with the silver because of the supply demand, the lower pop count, and hope that Porter Jr. will come back at some point next year, play for 1 month, just just give me 1 month, MPJ, and then that'll be enough time for me to sell. So that's my strategy, Michael Porter.
All right.
I'm gonna go with the Zion, actually.
What?
Yeah. if this was a couple months ago, there's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I don't like both picks like you, Clark. But so for me, it's just gonna be a quick flip. And I think it's just a matter of time before Zion, shuts down all the haters. I know there's a lot of haters out there, but I think he's too talented. Once he comes back, he plays. I've seen that Prizm. I love that Prizm card, by the way. I think it's going to be an iconic card regardless.
It's nice,
the picture. I think 2019 Prizm is beautiful. I really like the Prizm design as well. I like the dunk image. I like the iconic card. So. And I think that I've seen that card go as low as 250. I remember the days when it was 250. I remember the days it was 500. I remember when it was 750. I remember when it was 1,000. I remember when it was back to 500, now to 250. So for me, I'm gonna ride the roller coaster and just try to quick flip this one. And make maybe double my profit if Zion gets hot, and 2x and get out and not have to answer this question ever again.
Oh man, I'm still struggling with this one. You guys know me, like I don't have early in the podcast I talked about the Zion, my own personal thoughts of Zion. I don't own any Zion. I do own, however, unfortunately, I own a Michael Porter Jr. light blue select PSA 10, which has taken a monster hit. And Michael Porter Jr., his first injury in college that forced him to miss a year and a half or whatever it was coming out of the draft. It was regarding his back. And a lot of people were saying at the time, he may not play basketball again. Proved everybody wrong. He proved science wrong, got drafted, and he's here. And it's really this injury this time is really scary. Like the fact that it's his back again. I don't think you ask somebody from the Denver Nuggets head office that just gave him $180 million. I'm sure they're really worried too to see that it's, I don't know, degenerating disc or whatever he's got in his back right now. It's really scary. And I'll be honest, I'm in panic sell mode. I actually am. I didn't think I would be, but I'm really considering, do I just literally sell my Michael Porter Jr. light blue at 30% of the value of what I paid for it? I'm at that point because I'm really nervous if he can come back at all. I think he'll come back to play basketball, but to come back kind of like what we saw in Tiger Woods, to expect him to come back as this 100%, full potential monster that we all think he's going to be. I'm really scared that that's not there anymore. So I'm really considering bailing. So with that being said, can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like Zion Prizm at 20K pop is the better move because Michael Porter Jr. right now, even if the question is obviously for right now, I think your money is just going to be tied up for 18 months, right? And I think it's just better, as much as it's not fun to go after that Zion 20K pop, I think that has better potential to give you some kind of return in the next 18 months. So I think, I'm going to pick Zion Prizm PSA 10 over Michael Porter.
When did I become the gambler of this group? MPJ's coming back, all right?
Yeah. Clark, I secretly love it, man. When I posed this question, I was like, oh, this is going to be a Zion sweep for sure.
I thought it would be a Zion sweep.
And then Clark, you saved my question, man. I'm like, yes, Clark.
Yeah, I did. I went back and forth, though, yeah. But that was a good one. I thought it was a good one. All right. All right. Mine is Luka Doncic, Courtside base, Panini Select, rookie card. Currently going for about $3K, maybe a little bit under. Or Luka Doncic, Concourse, Panini Select Concourse, silver rookie card. It's going for about $2K. Both PSA 10s, right? So, and if you look at the pop counts, they're almost the same, like around 200. All right, so same pop count, more or less, of their PSA 10. But yeah, Luka Doncic, Courtside base, or Concourse silver, both short prints.
This is tough. I'm gonna go with the Courtside base. I just love the card. You know what I think about my boy Matt Damon. Like something about that card, I just don't love the unathleticism for some reason. Maybe it's the golden hair, just like, you know, just hanging in there. But yeah, I really like the Courtside base. I also think the Concourse silver is kind of like his third, like it would, the Concourse image is like your third or fourth like rookie card, right? So I think long term too, the Courtside I think is his number one base card over his Prizm. It's short printed, and it's an awesome image. And 2018 I think probably one of the best years for Courtsides, 2018 and 2019. So I'm gonna go Luka Doncic Courtside base.
All right.
First of all, I can't believe how much Courtside has come down. It's pretty insane. I think if you're in that arena to spend $2,500 to $3,000, man, that's a good price. But I have been eyeing that Luka Doncic Concourse silver for the longest time. I love that Concourse card. I think the base Concourse, I'm an owner of one. I think the base Concourse is great. I've been trying to get, I haven't been successful, but for the longest time I've been trying to get the light blue, numbered Luka. That's my one numbered Luka target. The secret is out. And in the meantime, I've always been looking at that silver, and I thought the price was right. It's always been kind of floating around 3,500 ish, and I thought that was a great price. It's now down to 2,000, which I think is a great price. But with that being said,
this is a John move, right here.
Classic move. I talked about this last week. Just observing what's happening to the market, and I'm observing how talking heads are, obviously, including ourselves, are talking about Select and hating on Select, blah, blah, blah. Select is like the brand Select is really turning. And I really feel like Courtside is starting to eat up. You know how I mentioned that before, how like Select kind of cannibalizes itself. And I'm kind of concerned that Concourse is not really going to be, I think first of all, Premier is not desired at all anymore.
Yeah.
And now it's between Concourse and Courtside, because Concourse is just sort of like the no frills, like, entry cheap card to get. But I'm really scared that Concourse is going to get eaten up again. And a good example actually is right before we started, got onto this podcast, somebody posted on the Facebook group, like, hey guys, question, if you're to just go for one, I think he's buying, which one do you go for? And he posted, Ja Morant Mosaic Peacock Choice SSP. We all know that that's a bigger card.
Yeah.
PSA 10, or Select Concourse Ja Morant Gold, True Gold, PSA 10. Yeah. And I think any normal situation, you'd be like, gold numbered at a 10. Like gold is like the standard card to get. Yeah. It's like, no doubt it's gold. But when you look at the comments, it's like 80% Peacock Choice, which I was shocked.
What?
Yeah. Wow. Mosaic Peacock Choice over
Can't believe that.
Select Concourse Gold. Like, are you kidding me? So this is what I'm talking about. I think I feel the market is really shifting away from Concourse. I feel like Concourse is like stay away. It's just like whatever you do, stay away. I feel like there's that narrative right now, and I'm a little worried about it. So long-winded answer, but I think mainly I love it, and I've been targeting it, and I've wanted it, but I'm now getting a bit worried. So because of that reason, it's going to be Courtside base.
Wow. Okay. Man, I wasn't expecting that. Because I'm going with Concourse Silver. I don't know. It's interesting to hear your guys' points because like it is short printed, and I do like Courtside as well, but I can't get over the fact that it's base. Right. Like, I think, absolutely. Yeah. So and it could go the other way. Like people can say like, oh, it's essentially a base, short printed base, and obviously a Courtside numbered card is just out of most people's budgets, right? So, but if you could get a Concourse Silver, and I don't mind the Matt Damon look. I don't mind this golden hair. This golden hair looks very nice on a silver shiny refractor card, right? So, and it's silver. I don't know. Maybe it's just the aesthetic that I'm going for, and the slight value that you get with Concourse, and the PSA 10 counts are similar. So I'm going with Concourse Silver. But after hearing what you shared about that Facebook group, like I'm not totally confident with my choice. Like I could totally see myself being burned. But
I will say this: I was following a silver Luka because I was gonna bid on it, and I didn't. The Concourse. Right. This was this past week, and it closed at 1,500. Dang. Right. With that said,
I saw that.
With that said, I'm a buyer at 1,500 over a $3,000 Courtside. Right. If like I value. Think there's so much value with all that said, but I don't believe that's a $1,500 card either. I think that's more closer to a $2,500 card. Right. So it's a little more even where the value is, right? So I do see a tremendous value in the Concourse Silver right now, especially at 1,500. I think that when I seen that price, I kind of was shocked, right? And if you take the parallels with Trey's market, a Courtside base just closed under 500.
That's crazy.
A Courtside base, for right? Trey? So for Trae Young, right? Crazy. So yeah, which is really, really cheap in my opinion. So the silver, on the other hand, outsells the Courtside base in Trey's circumstance.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so it's interesting to see that it's flipped, right? And then, but Luka's, if the value is 50% of the Courtside, then that might be a pretty good strong buy, right? So
that's a good point. I think it's definitely more liquid at that price point.
Right. Yeah.
So there you go. Another reason for me to pick Concourse Silver. Thanks, Hyung.
Hey, man, Clark, I'm with you, man. Like I said, I've wanted that card. I think it looks nice. I love. I'll take silver over any base any day. But yeah, just something about I'm weary of what's happening with Select.
Spooked.
Yeah, I'm a little spooked. I'm not gonna lie of what's happening with Select as a brand. So yeah, because of that, I'm gonna kind of hold off and I'll pick Courtside for now.
Fair. All right. Yeah, I like this week's 1v1 pick one. Definitely had to think about all three. Yeah. But with that, that's another great show. Thanks for all our listeners and subscribers, as usual, for tuning in. We'll have another new episode next Tuesday. If you haven't followed our Instagram account at Cards to the Moon, we'd love it if you do, and you would get our normal weekly updates on when the next one is coming. So yeah, with that, we'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.